Good morning, guests. My name is Tristan Elliott, and I run business development at BC Diabetes. Today, I'll be presenting the economic case for CGM, which is based on a paper we've just submitted to the Canadian Journal of Diabetes. First, I'd like to tell you about the technology. A continuous glucose monitor is a device particularly suited to individuals living with type 1 diabetes. Rather than relying on test strips, or what many people call finger pricks, CGM allows for glucose monitoring on a continual basis at set intervals with a small electrode placed under the skin and held in place by an adhesive. A transmitter attached to the electrode sends interstitial glucose data values to a separate receiver on which a real-time feed of sugar values can be viewed. This continuous feed allows for the setting of alarms for both high and, more importantly, low sugars. The science supporting the benefits of CGM over standard finger poking is extensive. CGM reduces fear of hypoglycemia, episodes of severe hypoglycemia, and improves glycemic indices, including A1c and time in range. CGM technology is an integral component of hybrid closed-loop systems, the so-called artificial pancreas. Not yet published is what BC Diabetes considers to be strong evidence for improved quality of life for endocrinologists. Put simply, CGM offers analytics that provide for better informed treatment recommendations by physicians. An important distinction that we must make for this presentation is the difference between Flash and CGM. Freestyle Libre is not a true CGM, but rather a Flash monitor. We have included Flash in our cost analysis because it is less expensive and already ubiquitous in British Columbia. All of the cost savings predicted in our economic model are based on CGM studies. We have assumed that users of Flash will accrue approximately half the benefit that users of true CGM can expect. Flash and CGM have begun a revolution in diabetes care, and there's no going back. At BC Diabetes, we are now encouraging all patients living with type 1 diabetes, intensive insulin-dependent type 2s, and new referrals to start using either a Flash monitor or a CGM. Which one they go with primarily depends on what they can afford. Unfortunately, at present time, 70% of our patients have zero coverage. We are using a combination of samples, compassionate care waivers, and our Fund Need program to provide the higher level of care that CGM allows for. At first, patients need frequent visits to get used to the technology, but after a period of weeks or a couple months, they are generally self-sufficient. The technology that a patient uses depends on the phone they have and the device they are using. But NightScout, LibreLink, Glimp, and Dexcom are a few examples of what we're using. Now, aside from presenting this to you and fundraising to sustain our Fund a Need program, which allows us to offer less fortunate individuals CGM and Flash, we have recently launched a massive CGM petition. The BC Attorney General, David Eby, presented our petition to the BC Legislature. The petition, which you can find on this slide, is still live and collecting signatures. Thus far, we have over 21,000 signatures. With respect to standard care, against which CGM will be compared, for the purposes of this analysis, we have assumed that each finger poke blood sugar measurement costs 81 cents, 75 cents for the test strip, and 6 cents for the lancet. Although PharmaCare allows up to 3,000 finger pokes per patient per year, or 8 per day, in their own financial analysis, PharmaCare assumes that each type 1 tests 4 times per day. We will be using these numbers. CGM represents a predictable price with constant monitoring. Here you can see the prices of standard care, Flash, and CGM. The cost of standard care, defined previously as 4 finger pokes per day, is shown on the bottom row as $3.24 per day. It is well known that use of Flash and CGM needs to be supplemented by finger poke blood sugar readings. In the case of the Medtronic Guardian, mandatorily twice daily. For the purposes of this analysis, it is assumed that both the Freestyle Libre and Dexcom G6 are associated with 1 finger poke per day. The raw cost of a Freestyle Libre and reader amortized over 12 months is $6.49 per day. Adding in 1 finger poke, the cost rises to $7.30. The raw costs of annual subscriptions of both the Dexcom G6 and the Medtronic Guardian are identical at $9.83 per day. Adding in an additional finger pokes, these costs rise to $10.64 and $11.45 respectively daily. Now, let's get to the savings. On the savings that are realized by using CGM, we'll start out with the severe hypoglycemia. Based on the work of Charleer, which was a Belgian study that examined the economics of CGM, we know that CGM is predicted to result in a reduction of hospitalization for severe hypoglycemia of 0.26 days per patient per year. Assuming a cost of $4,425 per day to treat severe hypos in the hospital, reducing the frequency and severity of hypos is expected to result in savings of approximately $3.15 per person per day. Next, we'll look at diabetic ketoacidosis. Charleer concluded that CGM would result in a reduction of hospitalization for DKA of 0.096 days per patient per year. Reduction in DKA is estimated to save the system approximately $1.16 per patient per day. Now, in addition to severe hypos and DKA savings, CGM is also projected to save the system money by reducing long-term hyperglycemic complications. Wagner 2001 estimated that a reduction in A1c of 1% would be expected to result in average cost savings of approximately $817 US per year. Significant cost savings were apparent within 1 year of achieving lower A1c levels. Assuming 46% inflation since then and a 76-cent dollar, the 817 US in 2001 becomes 1,566 Canadian today, or $4.29 per patient per day per 1% reduction in A1c. The Diamond study by Beck and colleagues showed an average reduction in A1c at 24 weeks of 0.5%. On this basis, predicted cost savings with CGM are $2.14 per patient per day. Finally, again based on Charleer, CGM is projected to result in a reduction of absenteeism from work of 2.607 days per patient per year. At an estimated cost of $192 per day, this reduction in absenteeism is estimated to save the system $1.37 per day. Now, there are certain things we haven't estimated. On top of the savings we were able to confidently cite, there are savings that we know exist yet can't project confidently. Presenteeism, which is the reduced productivity of an employee at work due to asymptomatic hypoglycemia, diabetic neuropathy, and mood disorders, is a well-recognized phenomenon. Although we aren't citing a cost per person per day, we know that presenteeism is responsible for approximately $26.9 billion worth of lost productivity each year in the United States. Using the 1/10 rule for Canada, presenteeism would cost the Canadian economy around $3.5 billion annually. Another issue that is difficult to put a number on, but definitely present, is the impact on quality of life. A reduction in anxiety and fear associated with hypoglycemia in general, and overnight hypoglycemia in particular, is made possible by CGM. This technology reduces the number of broken nights' sleep for those living with diabetes as well as their caregivers. The freedom experienced with the use of closed-loop pump systems is also made possible as a result of CGM. Now, on the flip side, we have not addressed the potential economic cost of CGM-associated hypervigilance, which is an increasingly recognized phenomenon. In summary, the combined savings from fewer hospitalizations for severe hypos and DKAs, less absenteeism, and fewer long-term complications are $7.82 per day. As you can see, depending on the device, the net cost difference ranges from 43 cents per day saved for the Dexcom G6 and an additional 38 cents per day for the Medtronic Guardian. The Freestyle Libre, when using our assumption of half the benefits with a flash monitor, falls in the middle at an additional 15 cents per day. When combining the savings from severe hypoglycemia, DKA, long-term hyperglycemia complications, and work absenteeism, we estimate that the CGM is cost neutral compared to finger poking. And this is before presenteeism and quality of life are considered. Thank you. And I'm here to answer any questions.